Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to my channel. So I haven't uploaded a video in about 2 weeks. Things have been really hectic. So I thought I would just record my day today because we've had a few dismal days here in Okinawa. We just had to quarantine for 2 weeks. So basically everything kind of came to a halt. It's such a pain having to have people go get your groceries and just simple things like going to the post office. And the reason that we are on quarantine is because my husband just went on a TDY, which is kind of like a temporary deployment for 3 weeks to Alaska. I was still here in Okinawa, and then he came back. Basically, we just had to, they call it ROM, restriction of movement, in the military. Basically, it's a quarantine. Well, not basically, it is a quarantine. So aside from that, it's kind of stressful. I mean, we've all been quarantined pretty much for over a year now. I told y'all I'm from New York, and while Mark went on his TDY to Alaska, I was going to fly back home to New York to see, friends and family. I haven't been there in a few years. So the problem with that was a last minute flight to New York was like a couple $1,000s, which that wasn't a big deal. It's just when you flew back into Japan, if you couldn't catch a military rotator to get back to Okinawa, you would have to quarantine in Japan at your own expense. I mean, that probably would have been another maybe $2,000 or $3,000 because it's basically you have to stay in mainland Japan for 2 weeks at your own expense. That wasn't something I was willing to do. It would have been about $5,000. My trip would have been, because I was going to go to New York for the same amount of time. Plus my puppy would have been traveling with me. Y'all know Marley, he's in my other videos. So overall, it would have been 3 weeks that I would have been, in New York, and then when I flew back, I would have had to stay in mainland for 2 weeks, which would have made my trip 5 weeks long. And I just didn't see that, almost $5,000, 5 weeks was really reasonable to me when we only have about 6 months left here. So I stayed here in Okinawa, which was fine. Just me and my puppy. We did a lot of things together. So anyway, I think that's it for right now. I am going to get a couple things done, and then I'm gonna come back to you guys with maybe my dinner plans, because we still can't go out. I mean, homemade dinner plans. Not sure if you guys are interested in recipes at all, but I'm gonna figure out something cool to make for dinner. All right, I'll be back. Hey guys, so all right, we're back. It's me and Mark this time. We went and bought some groceries, and we decided to make penne alla vodka. So we got everything prepped, and we're getting ready to cook it.
So this is a really easy recipe to make, and most of us usually have all the ingredients around the house, so it's something you can make on a dime. You need either 1 large onion or 2 small ones in this case. Usually around 3 cloves of garlic. I love garlic, so I have a tendency to use like half the bowl. You can do tomato sauce. We prefer stewed tomatoes, and we just finely cut up the tomatoes and throw it in there. Chicken or any kind of meat's kind of an optional thing. We're just doing 1 chicken breast just to give it something a little bit more than just the pasta. You need olive oil, butter, some heavy cream, about a cup of heavy cream, obviously, your cup of vodka. And outside of some crushed red pepper, you don't need much in the way of spices or salt and pepper. But I like to add a little bit of basil just to give it a fresh taste, and some Italian seasoning, and chicken broth. So other than that, it's pretty easy to put together.
So we getting started, because I am hungry.
So for me, I like to cut the chicken into slices, whatever you want to call them.
So remember earlier in the video I told you that Mark went on a TDY to Alaska? Well, I wanted one of these, like, it's an ulu, I'll just show you. It's one of these. Well, he was just using to cut that chicken with a little cutting board. I thought it was so cool.
So I just throw a couple of tablespoons of olive oil in here, and we're gonna go ahead and saute up the chicken with a little bit of our garlic. And when that's finished, we're just gonna go ahead and set it to the side. This here is 2 tablespoons of butter and 2 tablespoons of olive oil. And this is actually where we're going to saute up the onions and the garlic, and later on our tomatoes and our vodka. Just mince up the garlic. There's our garlic. And let's do some onions.
I love that knife. I've wanted one of those for so long. I've had it in my Amazon shopping cart and I never checked out with that. But ironically, I checked out with that inflatable stand-up paddleboard at 300 bucks or better. I don't know. That's another video if you want to check it out, which we have not used yet. All right, so now we're browning up the chicken.
And just a little bit of onion powder. And why not? Because like I said, I love garlic, so we're gonna add some more. Now the onions do not have to be finely cut up. Chopped is all right.
Oh, and by the way, don't mind our pans. We need to get new pans.
That is my favorite pan.
This is his favorite pan right here, and the handle fell off forever ago, but we still use it.
I refuse to let it go.
Yeah, until he comes home and it's in the trash.
You do that to my pan.
I don't like that pan. I was looking into the Le Creuset, whatever, because I want like one of the Dutch ovens. It was $400. It was $400 for a 5.5 quart Dutch oven. I'm not okay with that. So the answer was no. I'll buy a Martha Stewart Dutch oven at 50 bucks.
So for our onions and garlic, we're gonna let that cook down a little bit. Now we're not going to brown it. We're not gonna caramelize the onions. We're just gonna soften them up. Now as for the stewed tomatoes, as I said, typically you do this with tomato sauce. It does make life a little bit easier, but we like to have a couple chunks of tomato in there, and we like to flavor the stewed tomatoes better. So I just finely cut it up as finely as I can, knock down those chunks to little itty bitty bits and pieces. So this is where I like to add a little bit of the basil. Again, this is not normally something you would have to add to this, but personal taste, I like the fresh taste, the flavor that it gives it. And a little bit of Italian seasoning. And that chicken looks about done. Now again, a lot of this, as I've said earlier, is kind of to taste. So if you want your chicken a little bit crispier, then by all means, but this is perfect for us. All right, so the onions and garlic are looking about done. Now we're gonna add our vodka. Obviously it doesn't need to be top shelf, a bottle of Stoli will do, but a cup of it. Keep in mind, if you have a open flame stove, watch out, because it might light up on you.
I didn't think about that. So last night we had salmon, rice, and like baked broccoli. I cooked it in the air fryer because I like it like kind of burnt. So when I just ran back to the store because we forgot heavy cream for the recipe, I picked up a rotisserie chicken because they were half price. So I paid $3.50 for the chicken, and I had leftover rice. So tonight I'm gonna make Marley. Say hi, Marley.
Woo! Catching a buzz off of that.
So tonight I'm gonna make him his own chicken and rice dinner.
All right, now that that's reduced for a little bit, we're gonna go ahead and throw in our tomato mixture. And then we're gonna go ahead and reduce the heat down to like a medium-low. And then at this point, you can also go ahead and add the heavy cream. Now once we've got all these put together, this is where I like to jazz it up a little bit. Add some red pepper flakes just to give it a nice little bite. And some salt and pepper to taste. And 1 tablespoon of butter to go in with it.
Also, keep in mind that we live on Kadena in base housing, so don't judge our stove because our burners are rusted and they're
terrible.
Yeah, they really are.
We can go ahead and throw in that chicken we cooked up earlier. And at this point, we're gonna put it on the lowest simmer and let it go for a little bit while we take care of the pasta.
That's not in there yet, but it will be.
It's about to be.
Wait, I got you. Boom, pasta.
So, now that our pasta is finished, we're gonna go ahead and we're just going to carefully add it to the rest of our sauce mixture. And stir it up and we're good to go.
Okay, so dinner's just about finished, and because we used stewed tomatoes instead of tomato sauce, there wasn't enough sauce, so we ended up adding another cup of heavy cream and a half a cup of tomatoes, half a can of tomato sauce. So I'll show you in a minute. We ended up garnishing it with a little bit of Parmesan and parsley, and then while I was at the store I picked up a baguette and we just toasted that up, and we're gonna have that on the side. So dinner was really good, and we decided to make some chocolate fudge brownies for dessert. And they are baking in the oven. Can't wait for those. So that's gonna wrap up this video. And if you guys liked the video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.